Keren Dulwe.
It's in Abuja. They found to killing now. Nurse and Asge. Now, cause okay, now Asge me what do because no problem. How can me they come break? How can me go meet sister? Cause show me sister. Sister cause okay, no problem. Me want trouble. So how can me go all these guests for or tell for the stay?
These 6 teenagers were scheduled to be trafficked from Benin City, Nigeria to Libya, Tunisia and Abidjan. But thanks to the Nigerian police, plans of the traffickers were scuttled. Many have not been lucky, as thousands of Nigerian women and girls have been trafficked to other countries in Africa and Europe in recent years, with reasons ranging from escaping dire economic situations as well as from abusive families. These victims have put their faith in the hands of traffickers in the hope of greener pastures. In 2018, a data revealed by the U.S. State Department Office to Monitor and Combat Trafficking in Persons indicates that Nigeria sits at an uncomfortable status, with victims identified in more than 34 countries, particularly in Europe. It is estimated that about 750,000 to 1 million persons are trafficked annually in Nigeria, and that over 75% of those trafficked are done across the states, with 23% trafficked within states, while 2% are trafficked outside the country. Recognizing the growing consequences of this scourge, the federal government adopted several approaches to fight the crime and protect victims. In 13th December 2000, Nigeria became a signatory to the Transnational Organized Crime Convention and its Trafficking in Persons Protocol. July 2003, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons was created by the Trafficking in Persons Prohibition, Enforcement and Administration Act 2003. Available data from the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, says it has rescued over 17,000 victims of human trafficking and jailed over 550 traffickers. Despite legal actions and awareness campaigns against human trafficking, the crime has continued to persist, leaving one to ponder on several questions. Who are these traffickers? How can the country put an end to illegal migration? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will be speaking on these issues in a moment.
And joining us in the studio to discuss the topic, we have Elizabeth Kaite. Elizabeth Kaite is a pioneer zonal commander of the South-South region NAPTIP, Uyo Zonal Office, and founder and CEO Emmanuel Royal Foundation here in Abuja. Madam, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
And we also have here in the studio Director, Public Enlightenment, National Agency for the Prohibition and Trafficking of Persons, NAPTIP, Josiah Emerole. Josiah, it's good to have you this morning.
Thank you very much for having us here.
And joining the program via Zoom is Ambassador Abayomi Rotimi Maite. Ambassador Abayomi Rotimi Maite is an international public speaker and then a seasoned development expert and consultant with over 25 years of experience. He is joining us live from, rather through Zoom on Good Morning Nigeria. Welcome, Ambassador.
Very much for having me, sir.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure indeed to have you this morning as we table this very important topic for conversation. But first of all, Honorable, I'd like to ask Josiah to really do some definition. When you talk about human trafficking, we also know that some persons are also willing to be trafficked or willing to travel abroad for greener pastures, while others also engage in illegal migration. So let's differentiate between human trafficking, illegal migration, willingness to travel abroad for greener pastures. When will it become trafficking? When will it become illegal for one to assist somebody who wishes to travel abroad for greener pastures?
Well, thank you very much for this question. It's good you understand this situation, that there is human trafficking, there is also irregular migration, especially the one we call smuggling of migrants. First of all, I will say here that trafficking in persons and smuggling of migrants, people mistake them to be the same one and the same thing, but they are not. First, trafficking in persons, according to the international protocol, is the recruitment of persons from various places through deceit, through abduction, through the power or the influence you have on that person, and taken away for the sake of exploitation. Breaking it down, in trafficking in person, the trafficker, and most cases, somebody you trust is the first person that will approach you to say, I want to help. That's where deceit comes. This person comes, I want to help you because of your status, your poor status, to get you out of your situation. And because you believe such a person that he means well, you give in. This your daughter, this your son has come of age, you can't continue to suffer. I want to help you take this child to Lagos, to Abuja, to Port Harcourt, all these cities, or to take to Europe, so that your problem will reduce. And innocently, you give in. Give this your child out to this person, thinking that the person meant well. And the person now goes to the city, begins to distribute these children from one house to the other in the name of house help, for instance, negotiate for salaries for this child. Meanwhile, you are at home thinking that your child is in school. You are at home thinking that your child is somewhere working. But at the end of the day, all those things are not happening. He gets to a point where he even sells this child from one person to the other. It gets to a point that he will lose count of where he has sold this child to. And before you know, this child could also be moved abroad without this same person knowing. And the parents are thinking that the child is doing well. Now, the earnings of this child does not come to the child, does not come to the parents. It comes to the trafficker. That is the exploitation we're talking about. Now, smuggling of migrants. I want my child to travel, or I want to travel for greener pastures. And I now see that this person helps people to get documents to travel. And we approach this person, sell whatever we have, look for money, pay this person to help this child or myself to travel to the other country. And this person takes me, does all the paperwork, and takes me to the other country. As soon as I enter that country, our business is over. I'm left to now go there and fend for myself. But unfortunately, in some cases, because this person who has been smuggled in does not understand the terrain, does not understand the language, does not have papers that will take him for a long time, he may also now, while they are now run into the hands of human traffickers who will now say, you are here, why you are stranded? I could help. So that's how smuggling of migrants could now transform into human trafficking at destination. But it doesn't, and now you discover that before that, if you have just gone in, your earnings you keep. Nobody takes it from you. So you see what we're talking about. In most cases, issue of smuggling of migrants, people mistake it to be the trafficking that we are talking about. Trafficking is more dangerous because of the exploitation that goes on from beginning to the end.
Now, Josiah, it's an elaborate explanation you made about the difference between the two. One fuses into the other at the end of the day, and that becomes more or less like a job for the human traffickers to take up to. Within Nigeria here, there are various forms of trafficking too. There are those ones within states that take place, and of course within the state. And a lot of this happen to be with the consent of the parents, because they are the ones that allow them to go. And to some extent, other parents find it difficult even to resist the temptation of giving out because of what is being given out in terms of remuneration or gratification or whatever. In this kind of situation in Nigeria, why do you see the parents, or how do you see the capability of the parents in this regard? Because they compound the situation. Most of the time they agree to.
What I will tell you here is that there are two types of trafficking, the international and the internal. You are talking of the internal
The
now.
internal, yes.
Good. The internal trafficking is more than external. You see, no parent, I repeat, no parent would openly give his or her child out to be exploited. I've told you here, traffickers come, and in most cases, the people who are the first contact, like I said earlier, are people you trust and you believe that they mean well. Now, they will come to offer you something that they think you cannot resist. You are poor, you cannot send your child to school. You are poor, you cannot get a job for your child, and your auntie or whoever comes to you to say, bro, let me take this your child. Help this child go to school. Can you resist that? Let me take this your boy to go and begin to learn one trade or one skill in city. That is that deceit we are talking about. And you fall into it. At that time, you as the parent, you are not thinking about the money you are going to get. It's how to help this child so that poverty can reduce in your family. And this person now takes this child out. He's not sending him to school. He's not sending her to learn any trade. Everything is exploitation, moving from one house, maybe as house help in this place, house help in the other place. This same person who has brought this child is taking the earnings of this child that should go to this child and invariably to the parents. But the parents are not seeing the money. The child is not seeing this money. This person is. We have had cases where a child has been taken in that manner, taken to house A. House A is taking care of this child. And this child is in school and doing very well. All of a sudden, this trafficker discovered that this child, the value of this child has come up. He goes there to say, the parents want this child back. And innocently, the person gives back the child. He moves this child to another person, now negotiates a higher pay. And you think it is normal. Meanwhile, the parents don't know what is going on. So how do the parents come into it? It's the one of smuggling of migrants that you say that the parents have a hand in it in many cases. Because they are meeting the person, they are talking on how to move this person outside of the country for better opportunities. And in most cases, that one could work because the exploitation is not true. But beginning to the end in trafficking is exploitation.
In fact, I think Nigerians have indeed, some persons involved in that have actually criminalized what ought to have been a way of assisting families.
That's true.
Because in those days, you could have some people who are into negotiating for house helps for homes, perhaps in other states or even within the same state, to say, look, I have an auntie that has children, you know, and they're not doing anything, so we could now give you one to live with and make sure the person goes to school. It's been working. Such has been happening, but now it has been criminalized by persons who want to, you know, exploit the state families. Madam, let me come to you now. We now have a better understanding of the different dimensions of human trafficking as explained by Josiah. So I wouldn't ask you to go back to explain. But you are the pioneer zonal commander of the South-South region. And this is a region that is bedeviled by this very human trafficking we're talking about. From the background report that we just had, the few persons that were shown on the screen were about to be taken away just a few days ago in Benin. Why has that remained in, why has it persisted in south of Nigeria? From your experience, why is it that there is still human trafficking at a very large scale in that part of the country?
Thank you very much. I would like to say that in trafficking in persons, Nigeria is a source, transit, and destination country. And in all the states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, trafficking abounds. It's either your state is a source is the source, or probably transit, or probably destination, like most state capitals. Back to the issue of South-South, I think from my experience, it's just something that started like child's play and wasn't nipped when it started. For instance, the issue of feminization of womanhood. I'm from South-South, so I know what I'm talking about. Then the issue of making a woman look as if without certain things in life, or probably associating yourself with the opposite sex, you cannot come up to something. I think at a point in time, it was overlooked. Then the human mind works like a clock, negatively right, positively, but let me say 70% negative. So it gave rise to some set of persons who use that opportunity and capitalize on certain weaknesses in womanhood. And that's where the exploitation started. Then, when it started, like I listened to your introduction before we came in, the issue of family values, culture, are not even helping us, especially at this time. Like what he said, traffickers, like rapists, are normally persons you know, persons you are close to, or probably somebody who knows somebody who is very close to your family. So within our culture, trafficking in persons, especially sexual exploitation, let me deviate a little bit because I'll come into something. Trafficking in persons is not prostitution. In prostitution, you decide to become a prostitution on your own, you market yourself, you collect the money. But in trafficking, it's sexual exploitation. You go in for the act and some other person collects the money. So this set of persons, having this in mind, capitalize on the weakness of some girls, brought some incentives, probably their parents. In those days, most parents didn't know. In those days, most parents didn't know. But as far as I'm concerned, as at now, a lot of parents are aware. Because NAPTIP and NGOs, international organizations, have gone so far, especially that state you've just mentioned. So many sensitized, so they know now. Probably a handful of them don't know why they are, what will eventually happen to them. Like I was there some weeks back, I know of a person who knows quite well, who voluntarily, he was looking for somebody to traffic him. And it was amazing, you are educated, why do you want this? He said he's tired of the country. Whatever happens to him, he doesn't care, and nobody should bother. So back to the issue of South-South, the type of trafficking that goes on in the South-South is sexual exploitation, then some parts of the South-South, child labor, and another part, sales of babies, and another part of the South-South, drug trafficking. So I can split it into the various regions, like South-South, Southwest, what goes is child labor and a handful of cases of sexual exploitation. North Central, child labor as well. I can go on and on. So I wouldn't want to stigmatize a particular state or a particular region.
As a follow-up, Ladaba, please, as a follow-up, why I was so specific about South-South is the fact that I had an experience about a few years ago in Rome, you know, where I met a young lady. She was about 22, and my friends, you know, who live in Rome, you know, we came to the hotel where we were, you know, and they came with her and the two other ladies that are from Benin. And I asked one of them, the youngest of them, I said, what are you doing in Rome? She said that what she was told when she was coming was not exactly what she is seeing. And she told me that her parents encouraged her to go because there are relations who have traveled, ladies who traveled and have even built houses in Benin, they have built houses in the village, in the village, so that their parents encourage them to travel, because if maybe a Kaite can do it, you as well can do it. So is there any encouragement by parents from that part of the country for their children to go out and be trafficked? Well, the language traffic, of course, now is criminal, but travel abroad, that is the point.
They're
go
searching
abroad.
for the
In
peace
yes.
Normally, some parents up till tomorrow will never believe what their children do. I don't know why. Even when you give examples, they wouldn't want to believe you. So when these traffickers come in, they easily, with any story, like somebody said she was supposed to go to Belgium to sell weave-on and wig in a shop in Belgium, and she accepted. The parents accepted. I asked him well, and they talk say na to sell weave-on, and my pikin sabi make her well.
And she can't make it in Nigeria.
So I don't know why some parents have made up their mind not to believe certain things, in as much as I know that some of them are aware.
Okay.
But there are a handful of them who are not even aware that they are being taken out to be exploited.
Okay, thank you, Madam. We'll come back to that later and then have some, or rather look deep into this through your eyes, Kaite, and then, of course, Josiah here. Let's join Ambassador Abayomi Rotimi Mighty. Let's hear your own perspective. Let's get your own views about this. I mean, human trafficking is a global business. It is, of course, it accounts for a lot of money, about $150 billion thereabout. And of course, so many people are making huge money out of it. It's a big business. Now, against the background of what our speakers, earlier speakers have said, what is your perspective of human trafficking in relation to Nigeria globally?
Yeah, well, to start with, the good news about the whole thing is that Nigeria is really becoming awake to the fight against human trafficking. But of course, the biggest market for human trafficking in persons, is the United States of America, and of course in Europe, where Nigeria seems to be the most affected as far as Italy is concerned. And this is because of our closeness, our proximity to the Atlantic Ocean, and the routes you can actually go through from West Africa through to Libya, and of course that can be connected to Europe. However, we need to understand clearly that one of the reasons why it has been so difficult to convince people otherwise is because of the deceit and the lies that have been told over the years to people, that when you go out of the country, everything becomes so easy. We need to really hammer on that clearly, that yes, everything can become easy, provided you can actually match the important things that you must do before you think of going out of the country. Of course, you can migrate, like it is a human right. You can actually migrate, but you have to understand the things that can be done. However, we also need to look at that aspect of people that have been deceived and manipulated to go abroad. So my own perspective about Nigeria with respect to trafficking in persons globally is that there is so much to be done in the areas of securing our borders. That's the first thing first, because sometimes the moment the right thing is done in putting checks and balances in some areas and some factors, it automatically dows the idea of whatever crime that is actually going on. And that is why it is very important for us to look at that aspect also. However, it is very, very important for us to focus on orientation, serious orientation on the processes of migration for Nigerians. And I think the government should also look into the aspect of creating a stronger relationship with a lot of these countries, so that it can be so easy for people to actually get out of the country if they want to, so to say. People like us, we love this country. We don't want to go to anywhere. I love Nigeria so much, so nothing can actually get me out of this place. I love my country. I love everything about Nigeria. So these are the things that we really need to look into.
Now, still hanging on to you, Mr. Abayomi, you love Nigeria, that's some goodness, and that's what every Nigerian should do. When you talk about securing the borders, are you saying that Nigerian borders are very porous, so porous that this, very practice thrives as much without being checked? Because there are personnel and officials who are in charge of that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. There are a lot of people that are getting out of the country without having a document. That's the truth. That's the sad truth. So we need to secure the borders. It is very important. There are lots of aspects of the borders that people are taking advantage of. And, let me just digress a little bit. These people that are into trafficking, these people are extremely very malicious and evil. They take advantage of the loopholes which ordinarily every country has. People every year, people troop into America in the best way they can. They leverage on the loopholes of America. So we can always try our best to make sure that we secure the border the more, and we can always improve on this aspect. However, the few things we can do very quickly is to also ensure that the customs are very aware of all these things, because some people have documents and you will not be able to tell that they are being, deceived or kidnapped. So there are a lot of trainings, which I believe NAPTIP is doing a whole lot of trainings to make sure that these people identify these trafficked persons, and they will be able to actually curb it.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll get back to you in the course of the discussion. Now, let us know the mechanisms being put in place, by NAPTIP to curb this scourge. I ask this because there are policies of NAPTIP that perhaps you know much better about that are so intensive that can really lead to curbing this menace? Because from all indications, it is on the increase. The last speaker just talked about loving Nigeria. Many Nigerians love Nigeria, but when it comes to difficulty at different levels in families, people look for green pasture, greener pastures, which is natural. It is natural. It's just that some people are now being exploited, because they want to, expand their horizon in terms of making money. So what are those mechanisms being put in place presently to curb this menace?
Okay, thank you. You see, the fight against human trafficking by Nigeria is fought using basically 5 approaches or strategies, what we call the 5 Ps approach. We have the policy. Yes, you have talked about the policies that are available. Some of the policies, the Trafficking in Persons Act is there, which tells us those things that constitute human trafficking, the crimes that are there, and how to go about it, and empowers us to fight this crime. We have the national referral mechanisms, we have the gender policy, and we have the policy on victims assistance, and so many other policies, which tells us the step-by-step approach in our fight against human trafficking. We have what we call prevention, which is second P. Prevention, what we are doing today, is also part of that. Enlightening Nigerians, telling them what the problem is, how to come out of it, using all strategies, the whole of government, whole of society approach, public enlightenment activities, many other things. And I will tell you that even in prevention, right now, we have been able to infuse trafficking in persons issues into the curricula of primary and secondary schools in Nigeria, working with the Federal Minister of Education. Now, the third P, protection, because victims are all there. Victims are actually our assets as far as the human trafficking fight is concerned. Because without the victims, you cannot succeed in convicting anybody. Because you must bring the victim to court to convince the court that this happened to me. So we arrest because we have the powers, all the powers of the police, NAPTIP has. So we arrest, we detain, we search, and then we prosecute. Now, the third one, the fourth one, okay, I've talked about, have I talked about protection?
Talked about
protection is protecting.
Prevention and protection.
Protection is protecting the victims, because we have shelters all over the place. When we rescue these victims, we take them to shelter to protect them first of all, assist them, give them psychosocial support, and begin to work on their rehabilitation and reintegration into society. The fourth one is the prosecution, because as we arrest, we take them to court so that the court can prosecute them and get them convicted. The fifth one is what is called partnership, because we believe that NAPTIP alone cannot do this job. We need everybody to work with us to get this done. We work with various strata of society, including the media. We have international partners who are working with us. We have sister law enforcement agencies that we work with on daily basis. And our law also gives us the powers to also train these law enforcement agencies so that they will be on the same page with us. And we continue to do all of this on daily basis so that everybody will understand the situation that we are in. But I want to also point out something here. You see, many people think that this problem is the problem of just the federal government. The problem of trafficking is the problem of all of us. The states, the local government, the communities, the private sector, they are all paying lip service to this problem. They think that it's a federal government problem and the federal government should go and deal with it. As I'm talking today, I do not know how many states have even shown interest in this that's happening to their citizens. What are we saying? Support this fight in any way you can. Just a few states that have even agreed to render support to NAPTIP to get this job done. But every victim has come from a community, a local government, a state, before becoming a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So we want the states to be involved. Let them get fully involved in this. Let the local government get involved. The private sector, they think it's not their business. But some of these children that are being exploited today, who knows which of them would have been the ones that will come into those places? Who knows which of these children would have been the next MD of a corporate organization? Who knows? But these people, when the people they have working for them now are no longer there, who will they employ if all these people are all exploited, or many of these people even die in the course of trafficking? You also know that one of the things is that people are also, kidneys of people are also being taken away.
Just to be specific here with respect to what you expect the state, local government, and the private sector to do, because of course the aspect you're talking about is partnership. What kind of collaboration do you need from this strata that you just mentioned?
First of all, let's go to the states. The federal government has set up the agency, which is NAPTIP. Now, the federal government is sponsoring NAPTIP. We go to some of these states. What do we request from them? Some of them we request from them to help us set up ourselves in that place, help in creating awareness in those states. Some of them think it is not a problem to them. We talk about find a way of reducing vulnerability in your state. How do you reduce vulnerability? Find a way of getting children who are out of school back to school. Get people who are unemployed, who can work, learn some skills, and be useful to themselves, and not be vulnerable to a trafficker taking your people away. Talk to your people. Get certain things done to help your people come out of the poverty that we are talking about. But many are playing politics with the whole thing. Now, local government is the government that is closer to everybody. And you have these children who are there, and those are the places where these people recruit their victims from. So why can't the local government also look for how to empower some of those families that are in trouble? Why can't they also put some vigilantes that could stop some of these people from taking these people away, or draw up some programs that could make it difficult for people to move away? But every time you see this show of ignorance that they do not know what we are talking about. For us, we go to these places, create awareness, even raise community advocates to help us. But there's a limit to what you can do from the federal government here. When you have done all those things, we also want the states, the local government, to own some of these things that are happening there. Because first of all, it is their citizens that are affected first.
Good, you mentioned, of course, you have to be a member of a family first, and of course belong to a local government and a state before becoming Nigerian. And that's talking about the fact that everybody now is involved in this thing.
Yes.
And then there is no excluding, states or local governments in this regard. We'll talk more about the partnership later on. Elizabeth Ikaite, from your experience, we're all trying to see how we'll be able to, first of all, nip this very modern day slavery in the bud, and then the beginning, and then the starting point, I think, should be the prevention aspect of it, which he mentioned. And then that prevention aspect has to do with talking to people, rather appealing to their own psyche, enlightening them, and telling them the negatives of all these practices. From your experience, how much has that played out in trying to sensitize people about this negative practice?
Thank you very much. creating awareness goes a long way, or will go a long way to at least help in the issues of trafficking. But my worry, or what I see agencies do, like World of Trafficking in Persons, there was a work here in Abuja. I would have expected that work to take place in a local government area identified by NAPTIP as a source local government area. So the issue of doing everything is either Abuja, Lagos, Benin, Port Harcourt. To me, we are just cutting the flowers and the root is down there. So if we start at the local government level in the various villages, for instance, while I was still working, to my amazement, I did not know that we have some set of persons in the South known as boat boys.
Both boys.
I'm sure you are hearing that for the first time.
Both boys, yes.
These are young boys who are out of school. Theirs is to ride boats for fishing. And when I talked to them, they gave me so many reasons to convince me why I should not tell them to please come out. But at the end of the as at then, they agreed, like this season, rainy season, September, they will go to school. Then when the rain stops, they will go back to do their fishing work. So nothing stops the agency or the local government chairman, or I know NGO do that a lot, but there's a limit NGO can to go to places like that to create awareness. To go to these bus owners, he knows some bus owners whose work specifically is to move victims from one location to another. Nothing stops them from going to that type of a place for awareness. I know they do a lot of church, mosque sensitization, but there's another larger forum now. Like through CAN, PFN, Christian Council of Nigeria, especially the women. I believe a lot in the media, especially radio. Jingles, for instance, what we are doing right now would have expanded much through the radio. I don't know whether NTA will think about that. As we are doing it, it's airing on radio, because radio with battery. And I'm sure I left home, there was no light. So I don't know how many people who are even watching this as at now. So if we can also use the radio too, and importantly, town criers. I was in a local government area in a state some years back while working. We went there to talk about human trafficking, and coincidentally, Ministry of Health came to talk to the same set of persons on immunization. Because as at that time, if a child is perpetually sick, that child they'll take the child from the hospital to the church, and the church will see vision that the child is a witch who came specifically to destroy the parents financially. So it was very good between Ministry of Health and NAPTIP. There and then we did a very sweet sensitization program. So I think we should downstep the issue of trafficking to the source area, to the transit, and the destination, rather than all these Yoruba will say feferity that we do in capital cities. I tell you, I run an NGO. If you leave this place, go to Mararaba, bus stop, turn right. There's an area known as Asopada. I know you've never been there. It's closer to Kaduna State, but it's in Nasarawa State. And still, people in Abuja live there. If you go there, in fact, I started having issues with my car because of that road. The road there is enough to attract traffickers. No lights, no water, no road, no school, no hospital. And then tell me, when traffickers come, and if you see their conditions of living, where they live, honestly, if you get to, you will not want to live, to eat. And when they tell you their stories, Mama, for 2 days I've not eaten, please help me. And you see them, so many children. And NAPTIP, thanks be to God we are here. There's another trend that is coming like child's play. The issue of abandoned wives. So many women have been abandoned by their husbands. For reasons I don't know. So I think you start looking into that, because these women are just single mothers, though they are married. No, it's funny, but I went for outreach to empower some women, widows specifically, but 95% of those that I saw came with this story. In fact, this one has nothing to do with politics. It has no religion in it or language. All the languages in Nigeria are involved in this issue of child abandonment. So when a mother like that sits and somebody comes from Abuja and says, please come to Abuja, I'll help you. Why would that woman give her the child? So like you said, there are so many things we have to put in place. I think last month, the zonal commander of Makurdi, of NAPTIP, mentioned that traffickers go as far as IDP camps. So we have a serious problem, and I'll encourage NAPTIP to work more with them. And when I went to India for study on human trafficking, I was so shocked. We went to their own, it's similar to Ministry of Women Affairs. When we told them about trafficking, they said, Madam, they mentioned 3 NGOs, that we should go to those NGOs, that anything they tell us about trafficking is what is happening in India. Those NGOs, they run shelters. Ministry of Women Affairs or the agency in charge of trafficking in persons in India, they don't run shelters. They hand it over to these NGOs. And if you see their monitoring, the way they record things, I've never seen it before. So I had thought that with that experience we gathered in India, NAPTIP would have now started to implement something like that. So I don't know, like you said, we'll get there. We'll get
All
there.
right, really, it's interesting, you know, the experience you have, and this issue of a community near Kaduna that she talked about, you know, where she said the people living there are vulnerable to human trafficking. I don't know the NAPTIP, you know, has that idea. And one may begin to ask if NAPTIP needs to be expanded, or it needs to expand your, you know, your horizon in terms of reaching out to areas where people are vulnerable. I want to bring in Ambassador Bayomi wrote to me here before we come back to you for that. Ambassador Bayomi, you listened to Elizabeth Ekaide in the narrative that she put across, which of course has raised some very important points. Now, there's also this mindset of some Nigerian families when it comes to the issue of allowing your child to go to the city or allowing your child to go abroad, because some other persons who went abroad are doing very well. I want my child to also do very well. How do we disabuse the minds of such families? Of course, like you rightly pointed out earlier on, that you love Nigeria, everybody should love Nigeria, but when it comes to families living as like others in terms of having food on their table and being able to send their children to school, people start looking for elsewhere to make money. Now, how would you advise NAPTIP, for instance, to see how the establishment can expand its horizon and see how they can also reach out to the vulnerable people to continue this enlightenment issue and for them to change their value orientation and, of course, mindset?
Well, thank you very much. That's a very important question. It's as if you've seen my heart, because that was exactly what I was going to say. Even if you had asked me a different question, I was going to tell you, permit me to digress, because we really have to sort out this issue. I don't like the concept of talking and talking. I think we are done talking. We should begin to act up on some very core things. To start with, I am what I am today, an international public speaker, and of course, one of the best development experts in Nigeria and perhaps the world, because my uncle took me out of my father's house in 1992 when I was just 7 years old. So the same process that children now go through and are being exploited was the same thing that made me what I am today. So I will have to say this first, that this has always been a very healthy culture of Nigeria, where people in better places come and take you out of the village and they sincerely train you as though you are their own. I cannot imagine what I would have become if I had grown up in the barracks, with my father. So what I'm just trying to say here is that there is a serious digression from the original African value of treating your brother's daughter or your brother's child as your own. Before, even when we lose our parents, we don't feel it, because it is a very strong African tradition to actually maintain anybody you see around you, whether stranger or your relative, as your own. Now, how do we get back to that strong cultural value? Then number two, how do we disabuse the mind of the people from all these wicked happenings? And we want to talk to NAPTIP first. NAPTIP has done a whole lot. I have worked closely with NAPTIP some times back, and I've been following what they have been doing. NAPTIP has done a whole lot. I can say that. You can take that to the bank. However, it is time to widen their scope of reaching out. So I came up with this concept, which I think NAPTIP should take note of: hype, pipe, dive. NAPTIP needs to apply the hype, pipe, dive strategy. This is what is being used anywhere in the world if a new concept is to be promoted. When, if you look at how the country has transitioned from a fraudster, a Yahoo boy, hiding himself, to now parading himself as a Yahoo boy, you will see that there was a serious, hype of that, menace. You see singers, musicians singing about it. And as a result, it goes straight into the consciousness of the people. The concept of hype is NAPTIP has to find a way of getting the entertainment industry to begin to deliberately infuse the concept, of trafficking in persons and how bad it is into their movies. Even if the movie is not on trafficking in persons, they have to find a way of putting this in their consciousness. I will give you a practical example. If you watch an average Nigerian movie, going out of the country is a miracle. People even come to church to give testimonies that they have gotten a visa. What is that? Who does that? Nothing can be more beautiful than my lovely Nigeria. But we need to as well put this in the minds of the people. So NAPTIP has to find a way of using that hype concept to connect with the entertainment industry, so that an average, I'm not talking of NGO shooting movies. That is not it. When an NGO shoots a movie, they'll say they've done movie on. That's not it. I'm talking of the mainstream entertainers getting it into their consciousness. Because you come to Instagram, you come to Facebook, you come to all these places, you see people portraying traveling out as the best thing that can ever happen to an average African. We need to change that. That is the hype strategy. We need to begin to hype a lot of this information. We need to let the world understand. Like the other time, Mr. Josiah was saying something. And I would like to tell him why that thing happened. They will say, well, maybe out of ignorance, they don't tend to want to understand what NAPTIP is trying to say. They cannot understand what NAPTIP is trying to say, but they will understand what Nollywood is trying to say, sir. They will understand what artists are trying to say. They will understand what entertainers are trying to say. Maybe what NAPTIP should do is to stop talking to the communities and start talking to the platforms that the communities are listening to, and that will definitely change, the whole narrative. I'll give you an example of how the media is still the solution to this whole thing, and that's where the concept of hype, then pipe. Now, what is pipe? Pipe is a form of passing something, passing that information out. So we need to hype it. We need to blow this information out of proportion by getting the people in the citadel of information dissemination. Of course, the media, the entertainment people, which of course comprises of the actors, the singers, and of course a lot of people that people listen to. It is so important for us to note this. Why the pipe is the deliberate passing out of this information through these media outlets, through these media channels. And of course, the dive is going deep by providing rich content to these entertainers. We need to get to that point first. There is nobody, there is no parent I have spoken to. There is no place I have gone to speak to people on trafficking in persons, and their mindset doesn't change. It changes forever, because we need to also push that down. Then, of course, I have this direct message to NTA. Please, in the name of God, I am what I am today also because of NTA. A lot of programs on NTA when I was a child changed my life. The Tales by Moonlight changed my life. A lot of the dramas on NTA changed our lives. So I'm starting this campaign right now. Hashtag bring back our dramas. Bring back our dramas to our screens. Our children need to watch them. Today, I will not dip my hand into any corrupt act because of the things I watched on NTA when I was a child. So please bring back our dramas. If you need content, please contact us. We will provide it. We have a lot of children that are going astray and do not even understand who they are anymore. Please, NTA, bring back our dramas.
Well, thank you so much, Ambassador Rotimi Mighty. Of course, we heard you, we're hearing you, and then it's really great that you've given that commendation. Our dramas are on, they are really on the way, and some of them are really being played out too. So keep watching NTA. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, part of it, and of course, we're talking about combating human trafficking. We'll take a break now. We'll be back in a moment with more on this program. Stay with us.
A new edition of TV Guide is out exclusively with Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State.
Since assuming office, our rescue administration has pursued the path of peace and reconciliation and restored confidence among people of different ethnic, religious, and political persuasions. Peace is back on the plateau. We are building world-class infrastructure in roads and opening up opportunities for innovation.
The edition is a compendium of mind-blowing stories for your reading pleasure, ranging from entertainment, economy, sports, media, politics, family, and lots more. Pick up a copy and keep abreast with issues and trending features within our space. TV Guide, very incisive, very educative and compelling. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
It's the dawn of a new era on NTA's flagship program, The Sports Parliament, revitalized with lots of varieties, including feedback responses from viewers. Sports Parliament, the weekly sports show that exposes all the intrigues in the Nigerian sports sector and projects an agenda on the way forward for Nigerian sports. On NTA every Thursday at 10:30 p.m., running for 1 whole hour, discussing sports. The parliamentarians are more committed than ever to enlighten the viewers as the Sports Parliament takes it to a whole new level on the floor of the House. Keep a date with the Sports Parliament as motions are moved every Thursday on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, with his gavel to harmonize sports resolutions. The House have it.
All right, well, thank you for staying with us up to this moment on Good Morning Nigeria. And let's turn to Josiah once more. You listened to Ambassador Abayomi Rotimi Mighty, you know, who spoke so much about the issue of pipe, hype, and dive, which is an ideology he's bringing to the table. And you listen to him. So let's get your take on how NAPTIP can imbibe this ideology and see how you can project your program.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to react to some of these things. First of all, yes, Abayomi, thank you for your intervention. Now, public enlightenment awareness creation is key in our work because we must prevent the trafficking from happening. I mentioned here earlier how we have infused TIP, trafficking in persons issues, into the curriculum of primary and secondary school. What was the reason? To catch them young from the time they enter school. Begin to teach them some of these things little by little until you expand their horizon to understand what this thing is. That is one. He was talking about the use of Nollywood stars. We have always done that. We have always produced videos, films that are being used in different areas. We have also partnered with some Nollywood stars to deal with some of this. We have some Nollywood stars who are also our ambassadors who work with us. And coincidentally, just yesterday, the Director General of NAPTIP, distinguished Senator Bashir Garba Mohammed, held a meeting with Dr. Kenneth Okonkwo, who we know is one of the people who started Nollywood in this country. And what was the idea? Because he's an ambassador of NAPTIP, to use him to get all these Nollywood stars together for us to work on some things that could lead to, bringing to the fore the issues of trafficking, because we realize that, just like he said, where we will not reach, the films will reach there. The people there, they want to watch some of their favorite artists or actors, and these are some of the things we have put in place. Again, in our job, we realize that the victims will listen more to a victim who has gone and returned and who has been assisted. Now, we have helped so many victims through skills acquisition, and some that we have moved from secondary school to university and become graduates. Right now, we have our staff of NAPTIP, 5 of such former victims who we have sent through secondary school and then to university. What is their job? Part of their job is, when we have awareness creation, for them to even come out to talk to these young people, to tell them, I have been there. This is what the experience is. Please, don't go there. I was lucky to be alive, to be here talking to you. You may not be alive to talk to other people. Some of them, we use them as counselors to talk to the victims who are in our shelters. And you see, somebody mentioned earlier about the issue of shelters. Our shelters are not permanent shelters. Our shelters are transit shelters, because when you bring victims, rescue victims from various places, first of all, they need protection. They need protection. They need to get psychosocial support to come out of the trauma they have come with. So that is the job of the shelter at that moment. When we are now sure that they are protected and that the trauma is over, we can now move them to shelters owned by the NGOs. Because those places are open, it's possible for them to now begin to go to school from there, because at that moment, they can now go to school through our sponsorship. So like Madam was saying earlier, it's not as if NAPTIP is just building all these shelters to put people there. It is transit to get them to relax at that moment and make sure that the traffickers do not reach them. You know, because as you get these victims out, the traffickers are the pool looking for them.
Yeah, sure.
And again, the issue of this issue of going to having programs in the cities, my colleagues knows we are not only in the cities. Like the World Day Against Trafficking that we did, just as we were doing things in the cities, things were also going in various locations where we have our offices. It's not as if it's a city thing. What you have in the city, like in Abuja on that day, was because we have this program with international partners. We needed to do them. But in the localities, our officers were also going there, using the day to enlighten the public on some of these things. Now, coming to the issue of the place he mentioned earlier, in somewhere in Nasarawa State, that's where I was talking about the states. The states must do their work.
And the local government.
The states and local government must do their work. Because he's talking about the road is not passable, this and that. But it is the state that must do those things to make sure that vulnerability is reduced in those states. It's not NAPTIP that will go and do the road.
No.
You understand?
Or provide
yes.
amenities.
Yes, it's not us. But the point that we are encouraging the states to get some of these things to be done. But we will continue to partner with NGOs. And it may interest you to note that today, because of the number of NGOs that are working on trafficking, we have to encourage them to come into a coalition so that we know who is doing what. That is how NACTAL came into existence. And today, NACTAL is doing a great job. That's why when people come to us to say we are NGO, we work in the area of trafficking, we say, please, go to NACTAL. NACTAL will look at what these people are doing. Is NACTAL that will now recommend them to us to say, yes, we have looked at this person is genuine to do this work, because you discover there are many people carrying one briefcase all over the whole place. That is where their office is. They claim.
Break it down for us. NACTAL.
Okay, NACTAL is the network of civil societies against child trafficking, abuse, and labor.
Where are they?
They are all over the country. They are about 160-something number of NGOs
coming together under one umbrella.
Under that umbrella. And I think their president is even the present president. I think he's even residing in Kano. That's to tell you that these people are not Abuja people. They are all over. You understand?
Yeah, all over
and we
the
use
place.
them to work. But now talking about spread, you remember you mentioned something here where you said maybe we needed to go to more places. I agree with you. Because if she knows that when we started, we were just like in 6 locations, geopolitical zones as zonal commands. But over the years, we have now expanded to now 9 zonal commands. Now we have state commands in different places. We also have, in some states that we don't have zonal commands now, we have them as liaison offices. And we are still expanding. But with more resources, with more approvals for us to even recruit officers, then we continue to expand. You don't just expand because You just want to be everywhere.
Okay.
You have to be, you know, useful.
It's all right. The house someone always says the ruwan chiki ake generija. That is, with the water in your stomach, that's the one you're going to use in order to draw the one from the well. Which means the much money you have, the much water you have in your stomach, the more strength you have. Let's talk about funding. NAPTIP has a lot of these hands, and of course, you are once there, and then maybe from experience and from what you've seen, what you've heard, and what you're seeing right now, you could tell us more about how much is needed, how much will be required in order to get this fight taken to those who really are fighting us.
Thank you very much for this question on funding. I wouldn't want to give a figure, but I'd like to take it departmentally. For instance, when I was in the zonal head, as I then now known as zonal commander, you have the investigation department, counseling and rehabilitation, public enlightenment, and surveillance, although it's under, and to cover 4 states. There are times you get a case might start off from Port Harcourt. You might have a case reported to you in Port Harcourt, but you find out that at the end of the day, you might go to Lagos, Kano, Kaduna, and still come back to Port Harcourt. In other words, what I'm trying to say, then counseling department, they need money to be able to achieve the dive, the hype, and whatever.
And
they need good money. And apart from money, they also need a means of transportation. Very good means of transportation. Like you said, my experience was not palatable, but then my worry is that the issue of funding government organizations is virtually everywhere. But I'll use this opportunity to plead with the federal government to fund NAPTIP. If not for anything's sake, for the sake of the children being exploited and for the sake of the image of the country.
Okay.
Please. Thank you.
Okay. Now, let's return to you, Ambassador Abayemi. Time is not on our side at the moment, so be as brief as you can, because I know that you have passion for what we're discussing this morning. Joshua has told us that NAPTIP is working with several NGOs, and they've even come under a particular umbrella for them to have a better outreach. Now, do you think that other government agencies could be involved in assisting NAPTIP? For instance, the Diaspora Commission and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, with respect to those who are trafficked outside the country?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for that very important question. I must say to NAPTIP, congratulations for having Kenneth Okonkwo. He's one of the most powerful Nollywood actors. He's a veteran, and of course, he's a pioneer. However, I will also still say that there's so much to be done in connecting to the younger generation. There are a lot of opportunities with younger generations. One of the things I understand clearly is that if we are able to put in this consciousness in the Nollywood people and several entertainment outlets, a lot of our lawmakers will understand how very important this thing is. The truth is, they don't have an idea of the severity of this wicked happenings in Nigeria and the impact it has on Nigeria. But the moment they understand and they know, you will be the one to be begging them for too much of funding, because they will give you as much funding as possible because they need to know. I won't say that I won't want to take much of our time. There are a lot of things that can still be done. Of course, the better can become more better. And of course, the best can still get better. I will say that. Thank you very much for having me. And may God bless Nigeria.
Oh, thank you very much too, Josiah. On a final note, let's hear your views about, the issue of prosecution. Finally, tell us. In our background, we talked about some few figures here, about 500 and something that were convicted per se. And then it seems like we have to really have you know, an idea of how this prosecution took place and how the convictions are, because people should be encouraged to see the fact that it's not really a good thing to do. So we get you, we prosecute you, and we convict you.
Well, thank you. Prosecution is one of the key areas of our work, because when we arrest, the next is to take the person to court. Yes, it is true, not less than 550 persons have been convicted on trafficking. That number may look so small, but in the fight against human trafficking globally, is a very big number. Why do I say that? Trafficking in persons is a clandestine crime. You will not know when it is happening. If an armed robbery takes place here now, everybody will know that it happened. The suspect, when you catch him, you may catch him with something. But in trafficking in persons, it could be happening in this facility. Some discussions may be happening in this facility now, and none of us will know that it's happening. Even as senior executives of NTA, as you are, based on your greed level, somebody could convince you that this job you are doing here, you are not being paid well. That we could get you a job in CNN Dubai. And you may think it is true. And the offers will come. And you think it is true. And you may even go to DG NTA and speak to him in a manner that you shouldn't, and you are out. And what do? They will take you out. You may not get to Dubai. It may be for your organ that they just want. So, you see, it is clandestine. It is happening. People are not aware that it is happening until you get to their place of exploitation. That's where you say, oh, is that what it's all about? So now, what happens there is, because of that situation, you need to now make sure that all the evidences are correct. The victim may not cooperate with you to come to court. Even when it comes, because of the relationship existing between the victim and the trafficker or relatives, you may not even be able to face the suspect to say it.
Okay.
So those are challenges. But we have many things that are also cases that are in court, and we continue to come up with new systems on how to deal with some of these challenges.
Now, wish you all the best in doing that.
And these cases are taking place in our conventional courts. Do you think that NAPTIP requires a special court for these kind of cases?
We have always advocated for special courts to deal with these cases, because trafficking cases is only the high courts, federal high courts, state high courts, and the FCT high courts. That is the only places where they are meant to go to.
Okay, many thanks, Jose Merole, Director of Public Enlightenment, National Agency for Prohibition and Trafficking of Persons, NAPTIP. It's our pleasure. We've been in Good Morning Nigeria today.
Thank you for having us here.
Thank you so much. Madam Elizabeth Ikaite, Pioneer Zonal Commander, the South region, and then NAPTIP Oyo Zonal Office and Founder and Chief Executive Officer, that is Emmanuel Royal Foundation, Abuja. It's our pleasure you've been with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And a very big thank you also to Ambassador Abayomi Rotimi out there. We've really benefited from your insights, and of course you spoke very well, an indication of you being an international speaker. It's a pleasure.
And of course NTA, being the part of what made you who you are today.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you so very much, of course. And of course, before I forget, we won't go anywhere. Josiah, we are in NTA, we remain here, we cherish NTA. Not Dubai, we take it out. Dubai. So take it easy. Now, Good Morning Nigeria for you this morning. We thank you so much for being part of it, and then tomorrow is going to be another day. I am Yusuf Nadabos. Thank you for.
And I am Kirian Umaya. Thank you for watching. We will see you again tomorrow.